Good morning, garden friends. I'm out here in the shade garden and it's early in the morning. I've got my tea, haven't even had breakfast yet, but I thought I'd get out here into the garden in the cool of the morning before the black flies realize that I'm out here, and take a walk around the shade garden and show you what's been going on. As I mentioned, I think in a previous video, there was quite a bit of vole activity in this garden over the winter. And I was concerned that they had started eating some of my hostas and doing some damage. Well, I got in here and started poking around and thinking about adding some things and rearranging a few things, and I realized the damage was quite a bit more than I had expected. There were a couple of hostas immediately that I just pulled out of the ground that had no roots whatsoever. Completely eaten away, and as I walked around I found more and more hostas that had the same damage. Very disappointing, obviously, as I love hostas in the shade garden. They're just a workhorse plant for me, and the variation in foliage and size and texture, just beautiful. So yeah, a good amount of my hostas were damaged. Not all, thankfully. And strangely, one particular variety seemed to have escaped all damage, and I'll show you that in a second. But yeah, it was just stunning, the amount of damage these little critters did. And I know they're still in there. I saw one, actually. So yeah, we're working on that. Anyway, so I thought I'd take you through and show you what I've changed. I've added a bunch of stuff, rearranged a few things. One of my friends was actually getting rid of some hostas, so I was able to add a few more back in. And yeah, it's looking pretty good for this time in the season. And it's a nice break, actually, from the vegetable garden and all the other stuff that I'm doing. So let's take a walk around. All right, let's walk into the shade garden. Right away, you can see the Sun King Aurelia is quite beautiful already. It's actually the best Sun King Aurelia in this garden. I had 3. There's one way up there just coming up, and then there was one over here that died. But this one has always been spectacular, and it looks like it's going to do that again. I've added a couple of boxwood here. Now this area had quite a few hostas that got damaged, as I showed earlier. So I also wanted to start replacing things with shrubs, things that would give more structure in the winter, as this whole area basically dies back to the ground in the winter and really doesn't offer anything interesting to see. And actually, I'm going to step back here. This whole area is kind of in a holding pattern this year because I do intend to expand it. It's right now just close up underneath this maple tree, but I plan to expand it back out to here, trying to pan the camera into the area that I want to expand, and westward to where those blueberries are, the blueberry structure, up to that blueberry structure, and put in some stairs to go up the hill. It's going to probably double the size of this shade garden, but that's a project for next year. And in doing so, I will be adding a lot more shrubs, maybe a small tree, like a Japanese maple, to add more winter structure, more vertical structure in this space. But for now, we will work with what we have and just try to sort of zhuzh up whatever we can with what the space that I have. So I added these 2 boxwood. On the left is a green mountain, so it's going to grow in more of a columnar pyramidal shape. And then the little one below is called Winter Beauty, and that is going to be pruned into a ball shape. So I'm trying to get some forms, some shape into this garden in the winter, and I think that these 2 would be kind of fun next to each other. And I'll be adding more as the garden develops. In between, I grew some woodland tobacco, some Nicotiana. So those are the little ones planted around, and they're scattered throughout this garden, and they'll have beautiful white flowers. Got a nice little carpet of ajuga here. This is the variegated kind. Lovely. And an assortment of geraniums. I'm not sure what variety this geranium is. I've got a ton of it all over. It came with the property. But I transplanted some geranium roseanne bits behind here, and hopefully those will take off this year. And then this beauty. Again, in the space vacated by hostas, I stuck this little plant. This is a red leaf mucdenia. I'll put it up on the screen. Never heard of it before, but it's going to have these beautiful leaves that are edged in red, and they do have little pink flowers in the spring. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how this kind of develops. It spreads into like a 6 to 12 inch ground cover, so that should be really interesting. Coming over this way, these hostas here were damaged by the voles, but they had some roots left, so I stuck them back in the ground, and I'm hoping that they redevelop some roots and make it. We'll see. If not, we'll yank them out and move on. Behind it, the yellow wax bells, Corengashoma, are coming up. Hopefully they'll produce some flowers this year. My variegated Solomon seal in this spot is doing really well. Love it. So I'm going to pan out here a little bit, and you'll see there's a new addition to the garden. And that's this rusty old plow. This property was a farm, a dairy farm, and who knows what else before. And as we cleaned up the property, we kept finding big chunks of metal, farm equipment, all over the place. So I've got a little bit of a collection of pieces that I'm going to start incorporating into the garden, kind of honoring the farming history of this property. And I thought, since I had lost a good chunk of my hostas right here, that this would be a nice little art piece to stick in the garden. So around it, I've just reorganized the foxgloves that have self-seeded themselves happily. And as time goes on, I'll be replacing these with more permanent plantings, but all in here were hostas that got eaten. This is a new hosta, actually, that a friend of mine gave me, as well as this one here, and I don't know the varieties, I'm sorry. But yeah, she generously she was removing them anyway, so she gave them to me to help fill in. But this whole area had a number of hostas that got destroyed by the voles. Very disappointing. In front of the hostas, I stuck a couple of Virginia, and this hopefully will spread to form a nice little carpet. This is a variety called Vintage Rose. And again, I'm hoping these will spread and form a nice, shiny, glossy, green-leafed carpet right in here. Some more heucheras. Again, these hostas here, this was a beautiful, oh, and I can't remember the name. I'll try to remember the name. Big last year, but as you can see, it's sort of stunted, and part of its root ball was eaten. So it's probably not going to make it, but I'm trying to give it a little bit of a chance here. We'll see. And then this whole area had some hostas that, again, were destroyed. So I replaced them with some geranium macarizum, which does well in dry shade. This is, I believe, Bevan's variety. So hopefully that'll grow into a nice little carpet underneath. Check out these daffodils. These are very late blooming daffodils. Most of my daffodils have gone over, but these are like double white daffodils that are popping up all over. And actually, if I pan up to the barn slope, you could see all the white ones are still in full bloom after all of the other different colored ones have gone by. No idea what variety this is. It came with the property, and I've just been distributing them around. I'm actually going to probably move these out of here. I don't like the way that they look in here, kind of make it look a little messy. And the dyeing back process in this garden just doesn't, there's not enough in here to hide the foliage. So I'm going to probably dig these up and tuck them up in amongst the daylilies up on the barn slope garden, and kind of clean this section up a little bit. Still have the strappy leaves of the naked ladies behind. All of these leaves will die back, and once they do, that will also reveal some blank spaces when I remove the daffodils, that I can put some things in that will fill in once these leaves are gone, died back. The other big change you'll notice around the maple, there were a ring of hostas around this maple, and this was sort of ground zero, if you will, for the voles. You can see there's still some vole holes here. They undermined all of the little hostas here. Now, conveniently, I was planning on digging the hostas out of here anyway, so the vole in a way kind of helped me with that project. And so I pulled them out. They came out very easily, and I just replaced it with some ajuga. And I think I'm going to keep ground covers directly under this tree and not have any other big foliage right under this tree. I mentioned earlier that there was a variety of hosta that seemed to escape damage, and this is it. The blue hostas, and I don't know what variety this is. I don't think it's mouse ears. It could be, but anyway, I think this is something that came with the property again, and I just dug up and distributed. But this blue hosta, nowhere do I have any of them that got eaten by voles. So I don't know why. It just seems odd that right next to a section that got completely decimated by the voles, that I would have varieties that were untouched. And actually up here, this variety of hosta, just a plain green one, was also undermined. I have yet to tear this out, but you can see the growth is stunted. It just looks damaged. Right next door to these guys, which look great. I don't get it. The mysteries of gardening, I guess. All right, let's walk back down here. Actually, looking across, it doesn't look so bad, despite all the damage. It's really starting to fill in a bit. So I just want to walk around and show you a few of the other things that I've added to fill in. God, I love this. It's so bright. All right, we're going to just come around. I rearranged the ladies' mantle into more of a grouping to make room for the boxwoods. I do love ladies' mantle. I use it a lot. It's just such a great workhorse plant. A few more heuchera. I actually had 3, but something, maybe the vole, ate the roots. Oh, more ladies' mantle, some more heucheras. Another blue hosta that is completely untouched in the middle of a field of carnage. I threw in some more geranium acarizum. This is a variety, I don't know the name. I'll probably know more once the flowers come out, but this was available at a plant swap, so it came from a neighbor, and I thought this would be a nice little mat here. Some brunnera, painted ferns, miniature Solomon seal. Actually, I'll show you the mother patch over here. So this was a tiny little plant that I bought 2 years ago, and it's already spread into this nice mass. So I've started taking chunks of it and moving it around. So here's another mass of the miniature Solomon seal. So pretty. Another hosta from a neighbor. Actually, no, it's this one. That's new. That's from my neighbor. This one actually survived, as well as these hostas, which I'm thankful for because they're beautiful hostas. So, I don't know, the damage seemed to be sort of random and indiscriminate. This hosta's not doing well, so I suspect its roots were undermined. More Brunnera. I grew some Jacob's ladder from seed, and so I've planted a number of seedlings in groups throughout here to help fill in later in the season. And there's actually some over here. Again, trying to cover the ground that now has a lot of space left by dead hostas. All right, actually I'm gonna look up here under the maple. There's some new additions up here. Oops. There's an epimedium right here, and I have to try to get in here to show you the flowers. Let's see if I can zoom in. Look at these beautiful, beautiful flowers. There were a lot more, but it's gone by a little bit. It's a variety called Pink Champagne, and the leaves have this beautiful variegation of red. And I'm hoping that will spread and form a nice mat eventually. Behind it I tucked in some more of the Jacob's Ladder seedlings. And then here we have some pulmonaria that the bumblebees are enjoying, although the flowers aren't really open much. This is a variety called Raspberry Splash. Got a few in here. Over here. Some pretty flowers. All right. So the Solomon seal, and this is just the, I don't know, generic variety. It was here on the property, is looking so beautiful. Love these flowers. It's one of my favorite plants. So I'm trying to collect a lot of varieties of it. So I have this all over. And the bleeding hearts. Again, we're here on the property. I've just been relocating them, and they self-seed. So they're looking really lovely this time of year. One of my favorite hostas that seem to have escaped damage, I think because it's sort of tucked in. Some more hostas. I did transplant a chunk of Solomon seal from where the rusty plow is. It wasn't doing well there. I think it will do better in this section here, which is a little more damp, a little further away from the maple. Lovely bleeding hearts. They're so pretty this time of year. I find myself having to edit the bleeding heart plants because they do self-seed everywhere. And let's come up into here. You can see there are seedlings here, all in here, and even down in here. If I let them grow up, it'll just be one big mass of bleeding heart, so I do have to edit and pull them out. Another hosta that escaped the vole damage. The Hakanakloa, I believe this is Aureola, is doing really well. I actually divided this guy up into a bunch of different cuttings that I'm spreading throughout the garden. I do love Hakanakloa. It's like Lady's Mantle. A garden could always use more of it. So as these age and grow, I'm definitely going to be splitting them up and moving them around the garden. And this is the little path up to the propane tanks. Oop. Susie, hi. Susie's wondering why she hasn't had breakfast yet. Huh, sweetie? Yes. Oh, sweetie. Good girl. Alright, so more variegated Solomon seal. Beautiful. And Lady's Mantle. Lovely Lady's Mantle. This hosta just is a monster. I'm going to have to divide this. Don't know variety. I'm really bad about labeling or keeping the labels of my hostas. I don't. And so I have many hostas, don't know the names. That's okay, I just enjoy their foliage. I relocated another Karangashoma yellow waxy bells that was closer to the maple. I put it here hoping that it would do better in the moister conditions over on this side of the shade garden. It seemed to be struggling. We'll see. Another Japanese painted fern. And this is Annabelle that got divided, one of the Annabelles that got divided and seems to be recovering nicely. Although as you can see, there are vole holes everywhere. Ugh. And then we get into the big section of Solomon seal and ferns, which I just love. This is just shade garden. Oh, so nice. And in the heat of summer, this corner is just so cool and green with the Annabelle when she's fully blooming and greened up. This whole corner is just so cool and green and lovely. I love it. Like a little woodland glade. Alright, some more geraniums. Again, this stuff is all over the garden. I've been moving it around. Don't know the variety. Bright pink flowers. Lovely. I did tuck in some more forget-me-nots that I grew from seed in here. So those will take a little while to get bigger, but they'll be a nice little ground cover in early spring. So up above the wall, a number of these hostas were also replaced. That's a new hosta from my friend. And a number of these smaller ones actually survived, but some didn't. So still working on filling in this section of the garden from the hosta losses. It's an ongoing project. Have some astilbes. These are a nice pink color. Can't remember the name, but lovely. So overall, panning back this way, the shade garden isn't looking too bad despite the big losses of hostas this year. It's really starting to fill in. It's almost Memorial Day weekend, so still looking pretty young. And the weather is finally warming up, so things are starting to grow in earnest. All right. Actually, let me just take a shot up here to show you what's going on up here. Here's the other Sun King Aurelia. This one has done okay. It hasn't been as spectacular as the other one. We'll see this year. I'm going to try to water it more and see if that helps. I did put an inkberry shrub right here to add winter interest because again this whole section dies down to the ground in the winter. My hillside black beauty Simicifuga, now known as Actea, I believe. Those are coming up behind. And the hostas here in the foreground, the two in the foreground were undermined, the roots are damaged, but I replanted them in a different spot and hopefully they'll survive. The one behind it seems undamaged, so we'll see. Ooh, the wind. Whole bunch of lamium here that I'm going to be moving around so that I can plant this space with other things. Probably going to be moving that down closer to the wall as a ground cover. Makes a great ground cover, by the way. Holds the soil in really well. This little plant was supposed to be a Darmera peltata. Clearly it is not. I will be taking a picture and showing it to the company that I ordered it from, that I'm not going to mention at the moment. It was shipped bare root, so fairly dead looking, and I planted it dutifully and watered and took care of it, and immediately started noticing that those leaves do not look like Darmera. So there's clearly a mix-up. Hopefully we'll address that. I was hoping to have a nice Darmera here with huge leaves that would fill in this space, but yeah, not yet. Alright, well, I think that's enough of the shade garden this morning. Susie wants to go in and have breakfast, and so do I. Oh, sweet doggy. So yeah, that's just a quick walk around the shade garden to show you what has happened with the hostas, the damage, and what I've been doing to try to recover from that. Gardening is always a challenge, isn't it? It's always changing. There are always new problems to solve, and yeah, this is just another one. And we'll recover, we'll do fine. A little frustrating, but here we are. So yeah, thank you for joining me today. I do appreciate that you're here, and do come back again for more updates from the flower gardens, as well as the weekly series I'm doing on the vegetable garden called This Week in the Garden. Look forward to seeing you there. Take care. Bye.